What a strong statement from Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He's made it very, very clear. India showcased our strength. Shakti se Shanti. From strength will come peace. There's a new normal that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken of. If Pakistan wants talks with India, it has to stop terror. That's the new normal. Any act of terror against India will be seen as an act of war. There are multiple headline points in what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said, and he's made it very clear. It's Atmanirbhar Bharat, it's made in India weapons, and if I may, whether it's the Akash air defense system or the BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles, they've played a critical role. India's aim was to punish terror, those 9 bases that were targeted. This is the first time, as the Prime Minister said, India has struck at the heart of terror in Pakistan. Muridke and Bahawalpur, the universities of terror. The Prime Minister named the Oxbridge of terror, Muridke and Bahawalpur. And this was an eye-opener perhaps for Donald Trump or UK or whichever other government across the world that may want India and Pakistan to talk. The 9/11 terrorists had a link with Pakistan. The London tube bombing terrorists had a link with Pakistan. Terror across the world has a Pakistan link, including Osama bin Laden being found in Abbottabad. The Prime Minister began by saluting the valor of the armed forces, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the BSF and the Central Armed Police Forces. Blood and water cannot flow together. That's another very significant point Prime Minister Narendra Modi made. The path to peace comes through strength. Operation Sindoor is now India's policy on terror. If there is a terror attack, India will hunt terror and strike at roots of terror. Multiple points. And we will listen to every point that the Prime Minister made once again. But I want to quickly bring in my colleagues into this conversation. Rajdeep Sardesai with me, Sandeep Puneeth and Preeti Chaudhary. India Today's finest team of reporters, correspondents and analysts with me. Rajdeep, the biggest takeaway according to you?
We've seen the enunciation of the Modi doctrine. You see, for the longest time, there's been a sense that we don't have a proper strategic doctrine in place. Even after Uri and Balakot, there was a sense of ad hocism, that we are striking, yes, we are resorting to kinetic action, but is there a wider doctrine in place, a clear, articulated doctrine? I think Prime Minister Modi has articulated it very clear today, that if you strike against India through terror, we will hit you back at your terror bases, not just the terrorists, but the sponsors of terror. And I think in that sense, Gaurav, the attack on Bahawalpur, Muridke was significant, as was the subsequent attacks on the air bases. So this, I think, is the new doctrine. You hit us, we're not going to lie back, we're not going to resort to strategic restraint anymore, we are going to take kinetic action, and we are not going to be deterred by nuclear blackmail. I think that's an important point, because the sense has always been, over the last 2 decades, that Pakistan has used, in a sense, their nuclear deterrent to try and ensure that India doesn't cross into Pakistan. I think that red line, and he used those words, has been redrawn. So I think the Prime Minister has enunciated what I would call today the Modi doctrine for dealing with Pakistan-based terror, Gaurav.
Oh, absolutely. No longer, if Pakistan continues to bleed India, Rajdeep, it's no longer Aman ki Asha, it's BrahMos ki Bhasha. That is something that Pakistan should absolutely understand, Rajdeep.
With one caveat, how successful, just this one caveat, how successful that's going to be, I think, to use the cliche, time will tell. Okay. We've had a bruising 3-day conflict. We have to now see whether Pakistan holds back and does not resort to continuing to sponsor and finance terror. So I think the proof of the pudding is not just in the words of the Prime Minister, fine as they are. I think the proof of the pudding, Gaurav, will be if Pakistan holds back. Because remember, Rajdeep, all of this...
if I may...
Yes.
No, you're absolutely right. And I agree with everything that you say, that before the Prime Minister spoke, the BrahMos has already spoken across 11 military bases in Pakistan. And that's a pain that Pakistan will suffer for a long time. If it still wants to bleed India or try, Rajdeep, it can try. It will bleed harder. And And Sandeep...
Yes and no. Remember, Balakot happened, right?
Balakot was one. This is Balakot into 20.
As we know, despite Balakot into 20, the fact is Pahalgam still happened. The fact is Pakistan has still been pushing infiltrators into Jammu and Kashmir. They've still been targeting us, in particular in the Jammu region. So we have to wait and see whether the tough message the Prime Minister has sent is a message that will resonate in the GHQ and Rawalpindi. Only then can we say that this Modi doctrine has worked. That's all I'm saying.
Unless there won't be any GHQ left. I mean, they've just struck very close to GHQ, Sandeep, and GHQ may not be there next time, or perhaps they may not have, parts of that little country that remains anyways. But Sandeep, I want to bring you in. No longer Aman ki Asha, it's Brahmos ki Bhasha. That is something that Pakistan should realize.
Absolutely, Gaurav. No longer Aman ki Asha, it's Brahmos ki Bhasha. And I just want to dial back a bit to the significance of the date today. Today is Budh Purnima. This is the 12th of May, 2025. I want to take you back to the 11th of May, 1998, when another Prime Minister, A.B. Vajpayee, authorized the nuclear test. You had Pokhran, and we saw he did that in the face of grave global opposition. The United States certainly came down on us like a ton of bricks. They imposed sanctions, but the subcontinent was nuclearized. Pakistan tested as well. And what we saw was actually 25 years of nuclear weapons-enabled terrorism by Pakistan. A problem that even the great Prime Minister Vajpayee had no solution for. When he authorized Operation Parakram as a response to the attack on Parliament by the Jaish terrorists in 2001 December, even he didn't have an answer to that. Prime Minister Modi has answered it today when he said they were expecting an attack on the border, but I authorized an attack into their hearts, meaning that I didn't use the army, I used the Indian Air Force. And this is the Prime Minister who for the first time has understood the utility of air power, Gaurav. That is a very big strategic move.
Preeti, I want to quickly bring you in before I bring in, Aishwarya is joining us, Piyush is joining us. The biggest takeaway according to you, Preeti, you were hearing every word of what the Prime Minister said.
I'll break it into two. The immediate micro, of what I could pick up from that. Number one, I think what we really need to stress on, Gaurav, is when the Prime Minister said, this is a pause. This is not, this operation is ongoing. This is just a pause. So, when you look at the big micro takeaways, this is a pause, a big takeaway. The other one, he's practically said that it was Pakistan who begged for a ceasefire going across the world. So two big issues that a lot of Indians had questions on why didn't India react harder right there. The Prime Minister has made it very clear that this is a pause. And number two, we didn't ask for the ceasefire. It was Pakistan who asked for the ceasefire. At a macro takeaway, and just two. Number one, that this is the new normal. Operation Sindur is going to be India's doctrine on terror. And that is huge, Gaurav. And number two, I think it's also a snub where in America where he says we will no longer be blackmailed, where nuclear blackmail is concerned. All of this is coming in just about half an hour after President Trump's speech, Gaurav. And one needs to reflect at that as well, because he did touch on 9/11, he did touch on London bombings, and he said that was the origination of it all. And ultimately what I thought was the emotive aspect of it, the sheer fact right in the beginning, Gaurav, touching on the emotive aspect of Operation Sindur. He didn't name Pakistan in the beginning. He came to Pakistan later. It was Atank.
And which is what India's offensive was. Aishwarya, if I can quickly bring you in, and Rajdeep, within a moment, I'm coming back to you. Aishwarya, the biggest takeaway according to you, the new normal, India's doctrine, or the Modi doctrine, as Rajdeep has just put it, Modi doctrine is Operation Sindur.
Well, Gaurav, one thing is very, very clear. We are seeing, and as Rajdeep also pointed out, that the doctrine has changed. And do not give us the threat that you are a nuclear state. So this is something which Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made it very, very clear. We are seeing a clear shift now. And also, the one thing that he has said is that we are very keenly watching what Pakistan will do next, which means that Operation Sindoor, this is only a pause button that we have hit. We will not shy away from striking if India is hurt once again. So this a clear shift in doctrine that we are seeing, and also saying that you had made a statement. He did not name Bilawar Bhutto there, but said that you had made a statement that water and blood cannot flow together. But I am telling you, they will not flow together. So that kind of change we are seeing. So we will see a very tough stand being taken by India on the global level also, and especially with Pakistan going forward, Gaurav.
No longer will this Pakistani blackmail or that nuclear blackmail deter India. We've shown it on ground, Piyush, but the Prime Minister is putting it in stone. You try and bleed us, we will hit you at source. आतंक की जड़ों पर हम वार करेंगे, प्रहार करेंगे. और ये प्रचंड प्रहार था. This was a big hit. Not just on the 9 terror bases, on the Oxbridge of terror in Muridke and Bahawalpur, but military bases all along from Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir to Sindh.
Absolutely, Gaurav. My biggest takeaway from Prime Minister's speech is that Operation Sindur has just been put on hold. It will continue. If you try to attack us, we will decide the date and time, and then we will teach you a lesson. And the second big takeaway coming in is, Gaurav, that Prime Minister has made it very clear. Talks and terror will not go together. Water and blood cannot flow. And the biggest takeaway is that if we talk with Pakistan, that will only and only on the terrorism which has been sponsored by Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Prime Minister has made it very clear that we will bleed you if you even try to hit us. So the Prime Minister has also, Gaurav, dedicated the courage, valor and the big success of Operation Sindur to all the women, to all the countrymen. And while speaking, he has also said that it is a new normal. We are going to draw a line. If you cross that line, we will teach you a lesson.
You cross that line, we will teach you a lesson. Rajdeep, the Prime Minister also made it very clear. The manner in which India struck not just the terror centers, Muridke, Bahawalpur and the others, the military bases that were targeted from Skardu in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir to Bolari in Sindh and all across Pakistan's Punjab province. The heart of terror, Rajdeep, has been hit the first time and could be hit again. Pakistan's been put on notice.
Absolutely. I think the significance of hitting the Lashkar base in Muridke and the Jaish base in Bahawalpur cannot be underestimated, because these are both located in the heart of Punjab, Pakistan, Punjab, which is the heart of that country. Until now, whatever operations took place were largely limited to POK. Now we've gone into Punjab, hit them there. We've gone into Rawalpindi, hit them there, hit their air bases in different parts of the country. So clearly the Indian response has been kinetic to another level. My only question is, and there are two elements to it. One is, where does that leave what Donald Trump said a little while ago? Where Donald Trump made it very clear that far from Pakistan only coming to America to try and resolve the issue, both countries were looking to end the fight. That's what Donald Trump says. So,
no,
Mr. Modi, in a sense...
He spoke to both.
No, he's made it very... Mr. Modi, in a sense, is making it very clear. It was Pakistan which was begging the world to end the conflict.
Yes.
Donald Trump seems to suggest that both the countries were looking for an escape route. So that clarification at some stage will probably come from the Ministry of External Affairs. The second issue, Gaurav, and I repeat it, we have seen in the past Pakistan take steps, one step back, only to come back again by using terror to strike at India. Will this Modi doctrine intimidate Pakistan clearly enough that every terror attack is an act of war? And therefore, when you strike next, do not expect us not to hit you where it hurts. Will that deter Pakistan? Will the Modi doctrine deter Pakistan? Is the question that is still blowing in the wind because of Pakistan's history of sponsoring and financing terror.
I will just play out what Donald Trump said in a moment, but to the best of my knowledge, nowhere has Donald Trump said that or indicated that India also went seeking an off-ramp. India did not want, to the best of my knowledge, any situation that there would be a third-party mediation. India does not want third-party mediation when it comes to Kashmir. We can sort out Pakistan on our own, Sandeep. The fact that you have American contractors in Sargodha and Jacobabad handling their F-16s and whatever else, maintaining the F-16s, and yet India went and hit both Sargodha and Jacobabad and Noor Khan and Rafiki. It just goes on to show that India does not care what Pakistani military jihad infrastructure loses when terror has to be hit at source, especially the Oxbridge of terror.
Absolutely, Gaurav. And in fact, calling this Pakistan as the global university of terror, he has, the Prime Minister has attempted to link all of the major terror attacks in the world to Pakistan. And he said every major terror attack, global terror attack, has its origins in Pakistan. 9/11. Let's look at 9/11.
Yes.
The chief architect of 9/11, this Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, was arrested from Rawalpindi in 2003, just 2 years after he executed the 9/11 attacks. And of course, we all know where Osama bin Laden was 2011. He was neutralized by US SEALs in a compound that was a few kilometers away from the Pak Military Academy at Abbottabad. That is Pakistan as direct, as blatant as it can, with its direct links to global terror. And that is what the Prime Minister is essentially saying, that look, it's not just our problem, it is a global headache as well. It's an international migraine. Every terror attack has its roots in Pakistan. And we are doing what we can over the last few years, Gaurav. With Balakot in 2019, I've said this earlier, that the bombs may have fallen in Balakot, but the echoes were felt in GHQ Rawalpindi. And in 2025, you have actually directly attacked Rawalpindi not once, but twice. That is messaging of a very, very significant order.
Oh,
Gaurav.
absolutely. I want to bring in Preeti into this conversation before I bring in our reporters, and I want you to hear in bits and pieces everything what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said, because everybody must. This is India's new doctrine, and I hope in Pakistan they play and replay it so that it gets into their DNA. Because Preeti, if I may, Pakistan is like a terrorist who's already tied that suicide belt. Even if it's it's detrimental to it. It will press the button, because that is Pakistan's DNA. And the Prime Minister referred to it when he said you had the Pakistani military or words to that effect standing in the janaza of a terrorist. It just shows there's no difference between a terrorist and a soldier. So they will continue to attempt to bleed us, and they will continue to bleed harder.
You know, you're right there, Gaurav, and that's where at least, because when the Prime Minister said that this is the new normal, everything is gone now, this is Operation Sindur is going to be India's doctrine against terror. Now, will we be able to build that deterrence? Great if we do, because we've hit them harder, they've learned a lesson, but like you pointed out, Pakistan is a rogue nation which wears a suicide belt. On the other hand, if this is the new normal, is this a new normal for India as well? Do we also have to now brace ourselves of what earlier on we used to always avoid? We've seen that before. We used to always stop the conflict. This time we didn't. Will we also brace for what could be the fallout of it, where the collateral is concerned? This time, is this the new normal for us, that India will also brace, that we don't care, we will hit them harder, let them come back, we will go in deeper, we will hit at their heart. But that also somewhere down the line also puts us in the line of collateral, which has happened.
But
Gaurav.
we are already in the line of collateral. Pahalgam, we did not initiate.
Because
they killed 25 of us.
True.
26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, we did not initiate. They killed 166 of us.
But this is also a new normal now for us.
2000. No, Pakistani terror was always a normal. For Pakistan, and Rajdeep can tell us better, because Rajdeep knows about, 1993 Mumbai blast, Rajdeep, where they killed 257 of us, 257. And Dawood Ibrahim Kaskar, imagine somebody here helping Pakistan's ISI bleed our country through 257 dead, 700 injured, and now sitting in Karachi, perhaps the next BrahMos or some other precision-guided, munition. That is the new normal. They must be very scared. Tiger Mehman, Dawood Ibrahim.
My point is precisely that. And we saw that even with Osama bin Laden. For the longest time, Pakistan kept denying the whereabouts, that they knew about the whereabouts of Osama bin Laden. Where was he found by the US? In Abbottabad. For the longest time, Pakistan has kept denying the whereabouts of Dawood Ibrahim. I went and saw the house where Dawood was living. I spoke to his guard. I'm talking about the mid-1990s. Dawood was there in Clifton, in the heart of one of the upscale localities of Karachi. So Pakistan has lived in some kind of a denial mode and has deliberately misled the world on more than one occasion. Which is why I asked the question, yes, great that we've now got a well-enunciated Modi doctrine, but A, is it going to be enough to deter the Pakistani rogue army state? One. And number two, if we are saying every terror act will be seen as a declaration of war, are we prepared, as Preeti rightly said, to accept the consequences of war? Because, already we saw even in the first couple of days, There were concerns when civilians were targeted. The Prime Minister himself spoke of new age warfare. We've seen the way Pakistan has tried to use drones to target civilian neighborhoods in this country. Who are the people who died? Civilians died. So you're dealing with a rogue army state. One thing to enunciate a doctrine, but do we have the will to then make sure that that doctrine will lead to an act of war every time there is a terror attack? Because Pakistan from 1993 till 2025 has constantly every now and then resorted to terror as a way of striking at India.
The body bags, as Sandeep will tell us better, have come in every year. There are times that Pakistan, when it kills 9 Hindus in Riyasi, including a child, those body bags also come in when the retaliation is not there. Preeti and Rajdeep. Pakistan sometimes keeps those body bags to 5 a month, 6 a month, 9 a month, 10 a month. End of the month, it clocks up to 40, 50, 60, but it just keeps happening, so we don't react to the body bags. Now we are reacting because it was 25. But Sandeep, that's the signal. Terror has to be hit again and again and again and again. Not just one Balakot, not just one Uri. The manner in which 11 military strikes have taken place at those military bases, those radical Islamist terrorists in Pakistan, the ones in uniform and the ones at Muridke and Bahawalpur, including their corps there, 4 Corps and 31 Corps in Muridke and Bahawalpur, there's no difference. So all of them will probably be gearing up in their suicide vests to target us very soon. And that is why they need to be repeatedly struck, including through the Indus Waters Treaty and global opinion on IMF loans. You cannot continue to bail out a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror. Sandeep, before I bring in Aishwarya and Piyush, Sandeep, quickly.
Absolutely. Gaurav, you know, I was on a double-decker bus in 1993 on Marine Drive, and I remember seeing those massive blasts and seeing those bodies coming in a police vehicle, and I could not believe the scale and scope of those attacks, and those were the work of a Pakistani army general, a very odious DGISI called Javed Nasir,
yes,
who was you can't make this up, Gaurav. He was also the head of the POF WAC, and where the explosives, the RDX, was actually manufactured.
Yes.
This is the close link that the Pakistani jihadi complex has with these so-called non-state actors. There is no non-state actor, Gaurav. They are all part of the state, and that is the most important message that Prime Minister Modi has delivered, that you cannot say that there are non-state actors. Now there is not going to be any difference between the state and the non-state. Both will be tackled together, and I think that is the biggest takeaway from this Operation Sindur. The fact is that we struck at the jihadi complex, then we struck at the military complex that was protecting this jihadi complex, and now, as you mentioned, all options are on the table for this de-addiction of the Pakistan military, Gaurav. We have to get them to de-addict themselves of running Islamist terror as a low-cost option to bleed India. It's been going on for 40 years.
Absolutely.
2 decades of Indians have seen body bags. I have seen Mumbaikars being blown to bits, not once, not twice, but 3 times in the span of 15 years. 1993, 2006, 2008. And I certainly hope that there is not another generation of Indians that has to put up with this Pakistani jihadi military complex.
If I may, if we are concerned about some body bags now, what were the body bags? If you just count, if you just add up, Aishwarya, in 1993, 257 Indian body bags. In 2006, 200 Indian body bags. 8 trains, pressure cooker bombs, 200 Indians died. So that's 257 plus 200 plus Mumbai 2611, 166 body bags. Indian, American, Singapore, United Kingdom, so many different countries. But Aishwarya, that's the new normal. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is saying that when we have 660 body bags and no retribution for a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror, then it gets emboldened, then it bleeds. Now retribution means we don't just strike at the Oxbridge of terror, we strike at 11 military bases. You lose your F-16s, you lose your C-130, you lose your advanced early warning, and you lose your runway ATC, many of it which you cannot replenish. Aishwarya, that's the message to Pakistan.
Well, definitely, Gaurav. And doesn't United States of America have that right? Doesn't Israel has that right? When every country has the right to defend its people and to go after those people who are making sure that there is a lot of body bags, as you were rightly mentioning, then India too has that right. And the policy has always been that we will not strike first. And in this case also, Prime Minister Modi began by saying that it was Pakistan, the terrorism that comes from Pakistan, 26 innocent peoples, the death of those peoples was the actual reason why India retaliated. So when everyone in the world has the right to defend itself, to defend the people, and to make sure that they go after those people because of whom innocent lives are lost, then that's the same thing that should be given out to India as well. And this is exactly what India has done, making sure that justice is served and also making sure. And that's the reason, Gaurav, why the operation was named Operation Sindur. Because we all saw the heartbreaking pictures
So
that came in.
aptly.
The men were different, were kept on one side, the women on the other side.
Oh, absolutely. And then in front of those women, the men were slaughtered. Piyush, the Prime Minister spoke of the role of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the intelligence agencies, the Border Security Force and the Central Armed Police Forces. He gave credit to all of them. They've played a very critical role. And this is just a pause because Pakistan may not be able to strike directly. Pakistan, a weakened Pakistan, will still may use the terror tactics, the terror route through Bangladesh, through Nepal, through the porous borders. And that's where the role of the intelligence agencies and the Central Armed Police Forces becomes extremely critical.
Well, absolutely, Gaurav. And remember that Prime Minister began his speech by saluting the armed forces, the valor, the manner in which they carried out the entire operations. And he dedicated this success to the entire nation. And after that, Prime Minister focused on one thing, that terror and talks cannot go hand in hand. Water and blood cannot flow together. And he has also said that if Pakistan tries to hit us again, then we will decide how to teach. We will decide how to react and at our own terms. One thing is clear, Gaurav, that a strong message has been sent to Pakistan. We know as to how Pakistan is trying to set a fake narrative, but at the end of the day, Pakistan also knows the reality that yes, there are terror camps, those have been hit. Yes, the Pakistan government and army has been supporting to the terror camps, and if Prime Minister has made it very clear that if Pakistan does not wipe out these terror camps from Pakistan, then one day these terrorists will wipe Pakistan. They will destroy Pakistan. And before that, even before that, before that situation arises, Pakistan must smell the coffee and understand the current situation. At the same time,
Interesting, you should point that out. Interesting.
What we have
If
done
I
is
may,
a new
Preeti,
normal.
that's the new normal. And Preeti, the Prime Minister has put the onus on Pakistan that you want good ties with us. It's in your interest. If you want to survive as a country, take action against terrorists. Whether it's Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, he didn't name those terrorist organizations in context of Pakistan while saying, if you want to survive, take action. If you want water, take action. Very clearly, the Indus Waters Treaty, there may be a pause, but the pause is also on the Indus Waters Treaty. So the onus, Preeti, is on Pakistan.
Well, the onus is on Pakistan, and that proverbial red line that Pakistan crossed, the Prime Minister actually elucidated on it, where he said that red line that was crossed. What was also really important, Gaurav, and I think that will also change the course of how India reacts to Pakistan, is where the Prime Minister made it very, very clear, where he said terrorists or governments that support terrorism, he equated that.
Yes.
And that is, I think, a first.
Yeah.
And now the reaction of India on that, very, very clear, will be the new normal. Now, how we deal with it is separate, but for whatever it's worth, it was a very, very strong speech, and at least from the Prime Minister's side, this is going to be the new normal. Now, what that brings, whether it brings deterrence from Pakistan or we are going to see, more conflicts like that, but we are now in a new normal, where India's response is
the new normal. Before I come to Rajdeep, let's quickly listen into Prime Minister once again on the new normal, Operation Sindur being the new normal.
साथियों, हर प्रकार के आतंकवाद के खिलाफ हम सभी का एकजुट रहना, हमारी एकता, हमारी सबसे बड़ी शक्ति है। निश्चित तौर पर ये युग युद्ध का नहीं है, लेकिन ये युग आतंकवाद का भी नहीं है। टेररिज्म के खिलाफ जीरो टॉलरेंस, ये एक बेहतर दुनिया की गारंटी है। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर ने आतंक के खिलाफ लड़ाई में एक नई लकीर खींच दी है, एक नया पैमाना, न्यू नॉर्मल तय कर दिया है। पहला, भारत पर आतंकी हमला हुआ तो मुंह तोड़ जवाब दिया जाएगा। हम अपने तरीके से, अपनी शर्तों पर जवाब देकर रहेंगे। हर उस जगह जाकर कठोर कार्रवाई करेंगे जहां से आतंक की जड़ें निकलती हैं। जब पाकिस्तान में आतंक के अड्डों पर भारत की मिसाइलों ने हमला बोला, भारत के ड्रोन्स ने हमला बोला, तो आतंकी संगठनों की इमारतें नहीं, बल्कि उनका हौसला भी थर्रा गया। बहावलपुर और मुरिद के जैसे आतंकी ठिकाने एक प्रकार से ग्लोबल टेररिज्म की यूनिवर्सिटीज रही है। दुनिया में कहीं पर भी जो बड़े आतंकी हमले हुए हैं, चाहे 9/11 हो, चाहे लंदन ट्यूब बॉम्बिंग हो, या भारत में दशकों से जो बड़े बड़े आतंकी हमले हुए हैं, उन सब के तार कहीं ना कहीं आतंक के इन्हीं ठिकानों से जुड़ते रहे हैं। और मैं फिर दोहरा रहा हूं, हमने पाकिस्तान के आतंकी और सैन्य ठिकानों पर अपनी जवाबी कार्रवाई को अभी सिर्फ स्थगित किया है। आने वाले दिनों में हम पाकिस्तान के हर कदम को इस कसौटी पर मापेंगे कि वो क्या रवैया अपनाता है। भारत का मत एकदम स्पष्ट है। टेरर और टॉक एक साथ नहीं हो सकते। टेरर और ट्रेड एक साथ नहीं चल सकते, और पानी और खून भी एक साथ नहीं बह सकता। कोई भी न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा। न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल की आड़ में पनप रहे आतंकी ठिकानों पर भारत सटीक और निर्णायक प्रहार करेगा। तीसरा, हम आतंक की सरपरस्त सरकार और आतंक के आकाओं को अलग अलग नहीं देखेंगे।
So the Prime Minister very clearly talking about the new normal. It's in a way what Ramdhari Singh Dinkar has actually said in Shakti and Shama. सच पूछो तो शर में ही बसती है दीप्ति विनय की, संधि वचन संपूज्य उसी का जिसमें शक्ति विजय की. And Rajdeep, this is India's effort, peace through strength. Either you live with us peacefully or we will bomb your air bases to Stone Age.
Interestingly, that speech coming on Buddha Purnima, so this is a very auspicious day. And remember, Buddha was seen as the apostle of peace. The Modi doctrine is trying to redefine what it means when it seeks peace. As my colleague Gaurav Sawant says, peace through strength, by striking back at your enemy, is the Modi doctrine. Can it work? Is this doctrine effective enough? Or are they strong words that not necessarily may deter the enemy state. We'll look at that and other issues at this moment. Yes, Gaurav.
Absolutely, and that's the big question. What will this lead to? Because remember, Air Marshal Bharti, Director General Air Operations, also quoted the Ramcharitmanas Goswami Tulsidas, where he made it very clear, Bhai bin hoye na preet.